and another segment with political analyst Scott Hughes. Okay, let's start here. Perkins 29, Tyler 24 on Tuesday night. The number of, and I said this over and over again, even leading up to the day of the election, the number of traditional, conservative, white, Republican voters who looked at me and said, I'm voting for Perkins. Why do you think that was? A, I think it's true. I know you think it's true. What do you think it was about Perkins that got so many traditional Republican votes in his camp?
Well, I think when you look at Perkins, he became attracted to Republicans for a couple reasons. One, he's highly educated. Two, he has a military service. Those are traditional things. If he were a white candidate, we would be screaming to the roof. Look at his education. Look at his military service. He is new. He's a change. I think that a lot of voters wanted that change. But from the Republican ticket alone, they looked at that and they said, we're not going to do this again. For the last 5 elections, you have to go back to Bo Williams. He was the last Republican mayor that we had. And so they've played this game again. It's like Groundhog Day. Are we going to again elect a Republican candidate? And they were 2 good guys. Jim and Leo were 2 good guys. They ran decent campaigns. But I think people started to look at it and realize they're not going to get there. To come in second, there's no prize for second place in politics. You only win if you can win the second round. And I think what you saw was a shift to Perkins. Momentum picked up. And politics is funny. When people felt he was electable, when they felt he was real, there was real momentum. As I was telling y'all just a second ago, the first boxes I saw that evening was precincts, was 20, 21, 22, 17. Those are Piermont, Broadmoor precincts. And Perkins won those precincts. Not won the black vote, won the precinct.
We asked Jim Talaferro yesterday when we had him on. We said, bluntly speaking, was there one Republican candidate too many? Or would that have mattered?
Well, I think it would have mattered only in the sense of the Republicans could have gotten a candidate in the runoff. I still think they would have had a challenge.
Let me rephrase the question. If you, collectively speaking, if you didn't want Ollie Tyler for a second term, is this the best scenario?
Given the field we had, yes. If you didn't want Ollie Tyler, given the 8 candidates we had, this was the best scenario. In hindsight, the Republicans could have found a very attractive candidate. Republicans in Shreveport are going to have to start to look at what Republican candidate can get crossover vote. You just can't say we're going to run the most conservative guy. That's not going to be necessarily attractive to the entire market. Not saying a conservative can't win, but you have to have the right package. And then the second part is, and Louisiana is unique. There's places where a Republican might be able to win, but in a sense, if we don't have a primary system, if Louisiana had the primary system, well, then the Republicans could fight on one side, the Democrats could fight on one side, and we'd get to the finals with a candidate. If they'd run one person, this is how Edwin Edwards used to win races back in the day. If one Republican could have got through clean, wouldn't have had any damage, could have just built momentum, then maybe you get to this moment and you think, okay, Tyler or Perkins is here against a Republican. Now maybe you have a chance. Because one thing that will happen in December, it happens all the time, we had 50% turnout for the mayor's election on Tuesday. That will drop. I do not believe we'll have 50% turnout. And in politics, the old axiom is the runoff boxes always get older and whiter. They get conservative because turnout goes down. And so in theory, that does favor a Republican or a conservative candidate. But I don't think it's going to matter in this race to Ms. Tyler and Mr. Perkins. But if a Republican were sitting there, it would make it harder for Ms. Tyler to have won a runoff against a conservative.
But Scott Hughes is joining us this morning, political observer, I guess. What are the hurdles that will face a Mayor Perkins? What is he not realizing he's getting himself into in this bureaucracy of running a city?
Well, I think I'll borrow a term, and some might not like it, but I think what he's going to find out is what Donald Trump calls the swamp. To use an analogy that everyone has understood. It's one thing to win, you're euphoric, all these people love you, and you roll into City Hall, and you find out that it takes 6 weeks to pass a piece of legislation. that it's got to be put on the ballot and be put on twice. It's going to find out that there is a city council. And really, with the mayor's race topping the agenda, we haven't paid attention to city council. There will now be at least 4 new city council members. With the defeat of Stephanie Lynch, you're guaranteed to have effectively a new council. At least 4 of the 7 have never served on the council. So the learning curve for the council, the learning curve if he's the new mayor, they inherit a new budget. One thing about Shreveport, the budget's adopted right before the mayor and the council come in. So they have a year before they have to do a budget. But if you think you're going to run into office and do all these things, you're going to run into office and find out you have probably less than $10 million cash reserve. You have a budget that's in the red right now. It's not balanced. They're going to use, and that's a term people will fight, but they're going to use reserve funds to balance the budget. And then he said it in your interview yesterday. He needs to get better at the governance process. I don't think he understands how laws and how rules are made and how you work with another body, a legislative body called a city council, to get something done.